A solar developer in Georgia sent letters to 821 parcels and got almost nothing back. His land team marked the list as dead and moved on to the next county, which is what everybody does, and nobody has ever been fired for it. We worked that same deed list. 96 of those owners wrote back saying they wanted to talk about a lease. 10 of those went to a real lease conversation and 5 of them signed. Across everything we've run for him since, he's sitting on 738 megawatts of signed site control. 20 years in this business before that, he developed about 1.3 gigawatts. 6 months of this and he added more than half of it again. He didn't buy a new parcel list to do it. Every one of those leases came off land his own team had already given up on. Now here's what most developers believe, and I understand why. A mail drop goes out, almost nothing comes back, and you read that as the landowner not being interested. In this case, it wasn't even close to that. You won't hear his name today, by the way. You know what this industry is like. Nobody says a word about a project until it's signed and in the ground. Because the minute it's public, it collects opinions, and a county with opinions is a slower county. So I'll keep him out of it. But if you'd rather hear this from him than me, message me on LinkedIn and I'll give you his number. He's more than happy to take the call. But 4 things changed on that list, and I'm going to show you all 4 and how it changes things for you. Before any of it, one thing has to change in how you read your tracker. The address on a deed isn't a person. It's whatever the county had on file the last time that parcel changed hands, and that can be 20 years back. So one letter goes to a house the owner sold in 2011, another lands with a registered agent in Wilmington who files it and never mentions it because the parcel sits in an LLC and that agent handles 400 of them. A third gets opened by a farm manager who dropped it on the pile with seed catalogs. None of those owners turned him down. They were never asked in the first place. But on the tracker, it all lands in the same column. No response. And that column is hiding 2 completely different situations. In some of them, the land is genuinely wrong and he should walk away. His best parcel in the county is sitting there owned by somebody who's never heard his company's name. And he can't tell which is which, and neither can you offer mail response. Now before I show you a single thing we did on that same Georgia list, only 1 out of every 9 parcels turned into a serious conversation. But the other 8 still say no or nothing back at all. How many landowners out there would sign a lease is a fixed number. It was fixed before I got anywhere near it. All that moves is how many of them actually hear the offer. If that's not worth anything to you, just stop watching here. Otherwise, there are 2 ways to go once a list comes back quiet. Send another mail drop into the same silence, or hand us that column. The second one is what Solar Marketing Corp does, and it's worth being precise about where we stop. He picks the land, his team runs negotiations, and gets the lease signed. We just get the owner answering. It's called the Landowner Acquisition System, and step 1 is the boring part nobody wants to own. Every parcel gets traced to a human with the authority to put their name on a lease. Sounds obvious, and you actually run the list. About half the parcels turn out to be held by a company rather than a person, so somebody has to work out who's behind it, and it's rarely the name on filing. Then there's the owners who have passed on, roughly 1 in every 11. His letters were going to a dead man for 2 years, while the daughter who inherited the farm never saw a single one of them. No mail house is set up to catch that, and I don't blame them for it. They print and they post. That's the deal, and it's a fair one. So we go through company filing, probate records, obituaries, whatever public profile exists. It runs until there's a name and a verified email address sitting against that exact parcel. And here's where most developers stop because they assume the problem was reach. That's only half of it. His first campaign had a second problem, and it had nothing to do with the post. The letter asked for a call to discuss. Think about what it asks of a 71-year-old man with 340 acres. He rings a number he's never seen about a company nobody he knows has heard of. You're asking him for a favor there. He's got no reason to do you one. The money goes in the message instead. How many of his acres would actually get leased? Now he doesn't have to ring anybody to work out whether it's worth it. He already knows before he replies. That's what turned 821 parcels into 96 landowners wanting to talk about a lease. Roughly 1 in 9. Run that on whatever's sitting in your folder right now. And parcels from a campaign you shut down 2 years ago. That list came off 1 list in 1 state. So don't hold me to the decimal. Half it if you like. It's still 220 conversations you already paid for once. Now here's the part nobody in this industry talks about. And it's where most of the owners who do reply get lost anyway. A landowner who says yes on a Tuesday night has cooled off by Friday. So the second one of them replies, the land rep has it. Name, acreage, county, and what the owner actually wrote. He rings back the same hour while the man on the other end still remembers sending it. And all of them sit in one pipeline the team can actually see. In talks, LOI sent, signed. Nobody has to ask whatever happened to that guy in the north of the county. So for obvious legal reasons, I can't show you my client's actual accounts, but I can give you a demo. And this is essentially how it works. We got the developer, the states that they're working in, and they can filter by those. But let's say they want to see all of their programs. You'll click on Bernadette in this case, and you can see which campaign, how many acres, how many days ago they responded, their number, their email, and this would be coordinates based on Google Maps. And if you want to just copy it, paste it into Landgate, you can click here and it copies for you the address, what essentially we offer them per acre per year, a brief summary of what was said. Now, let's say this Bernadette changes status. We can say we call them. After we call them, we're negotiating. The LOI is sent, and then they signed it. Re-engage, cold, not interested or not a fit. It's just one click away, and it works on mobile just as well. Last one. And this is the piece that pays for the whole thing in year 2. An owner who says no to a lease doesn't get deleted. He sits in the stage with the reason set next to him. Because a parcel that's wrong for utility scale is very often right for storage. When that offer comes around, you're not starting from a cold list. You're going back to a man who's already spoken to you once and told you exactly why he passed. That's the thing a mail drop can never hand you, because silence carries no reason with it. 821 parcels on a list his own team had already killed. 96 owners responded wanting to talk about a lease. 10 of those went to a real lease conversation. But forget all of that. 5 of those landowners have since signed a lease. 5 more are still in negotiation. He had no projects in Georgia when this started. 6 months later, the state pipeline was full and he moved into a second state. So this isn't for everyone. But let me save you the trouble. This doesn't find you land. You bring the list, and the parcels have to be ones your team already want. If the land's wrong, all we do is get you turned down sooner. And if what you want is somebody to tell you which counties to develop in, different job, different company. So if you're a solar or storage dev and you want to see what your list could bring you, book a call below. Then I put hours next to them. What a list that size has returned before, how many owners responded wanting to talk about a lease, and how many of those went on to be a real conversation. And if those two sets of numbers don't add up to something worth doing, I'll tell you on that call. So if you've got a list your team already wrote off and a queue position with a clock on it, just book your call below to see if it even makes sense to work together.